Arionne Curry sat in a large black leather chair, calm yet powerful, with a confidence in her eyes that hadn't been there for years. Across from her, Carlos King held a stack of notes filled with questions that could shake everything. The room felt tense, like something big was about to unfold. As the interview began, Arionne seemed distant, as if she was reliving painful memories. She revealed that she had spent years in a relationship she never truly chose, explaining how Martell convinced her he couldn't leave her and that she was the one he truly loved, while everything else in his life meant nothing. Those words, she said, kept her trapped. She described how he twisted the truth so deeply that she began questioning herself, believing she was the problem. When Carlos asked about the secret everyone had been talking about, Arionne paused before saying that everyone hides parts of their life, but Martell only showed what benefited him. She hinted at knowing things that could change everything, but held back as if fear still lingered. Meanwhile, Martell watched the interview at home, visibly shaken, while Melody, watching from her car, remained calm, almost as if she had been waiting for this moment. As ratings soared and producers grew both excited and worried, the interview turned more serious. When asked if Martell had ever threatened her, Arionne explained that threats weren't always spoken. Sometimes silence itself was controlling. She admitted she stayed quiet for years, wanting to be understood but instead being judged by the world. After the interview aired, Martell lost control, pacing angrily before receiving a call from Melody, whose cold voice warned him that things were only going to get worse when she spoke. Determined, Melody contacted the network and demanded to appear on the next episode without Martell knowing. The studio was soon set for an explosive confrontation. Arionne arrived first, stronger than ever, followed by Martell, who immediately confronted her before being stopped. Then Melody entered, instantly silencing the room with her presence. As filming began, she declared that this was not just about betrayal, but about power and lies, cutting Martell off when he tried to interrupt. The episode ended on a shocking note when Melody revealed that Martell hadn't been acting alone. Later that night, Arionne struggled to sleep as her phone flooded with reactions, but instead of breaking, she felt herself growing stronger. A visit from her friend Layla brought new evidence, a video of Martell at a nightclub, behaving in ways that made everything seem more real than rumor. Soon after, a leaked recording from Carlos King's show spread online, fueling even more debate while his silence raised suspicion. When Martell called Arionne, trying to control the situation, she stood firm, telling him the world could now see the truth and that she was no longer afraid. That night, she posted a powerful message online, sparking massive reactions and making it clear she would no longer stay silent. Martell responded with a vague, emotional statement that only drew more criticism. Then came the biggest announcement. Carlos King revealed he would air an exclusive interview with Arionne Curry. What started as drama had now turned into something much bigger, a full-scale war where secrets, power, and truth were all about to collide. The announcement of the exclusive interview sent shockwaves everywhere, and within minutes, social media was flooded with reactions, theories, and heated debates. Everyone wanted to know one thing: what would Arionne Curry reveal next? The anticipation built quickly, with fans counting down the hours, convinced that this interview would finally expose everything that had been hidden for so long. Behind the scenes, the network scrambled to prepare for what they knew would be one of the most explosive broadcasts in the show's history. Producers carefully planned every detail, aware that tensions between Arionne, Martell, and Melody were now at an all-time high and could erupt at any moment. Meanwhile, Martell was far from calm. The pressure was clearly getting to him as more clips, rumors, and discussions spread online. His phone wouldn't stop ringing, messages pouring in faster than he could read them. Friends, critics, and even strangers had something to say, and for the first time, it felt like he was losing control of the narrative he had carefully maintained for years. He tried to stay composed, even posting another message to defend himself, but it only added fuel to the fire. People were no longer convinced by his words. They wanted proof, and they believed Arionne might finally provide it. On the other side, Melody was moving with quiet confidence. She wasn't reacting emotionally anymore. Instead, she appeared focused and prepared, as if she already knew how everything would unfold. Those close to her noticed the change. She was no longer the person who stayed silent or avoided conflict. Now she was ready to speak, and that alone made the situation even more intense. Rumors began circulating that she had her own revelations, something that could shift the entire story once again. As the day of the interview arrived, the atmosphere around the studio felt electric. Security was tighter than usual, and even the crew could sense that this wasn't just another episode, it was a turning point. When Arionne Curry walked in, there was a noticeable shift in energy. She looked composed, strong, and completely sure of herself. There was no hesitation this time. Whatever fear had once held her back was gone. Carlos greeted her, but even he seemed more serious than before. This wasn't just about ratings anymore. It was about truth, reputation, and consequences. As the cameras rolled, the room fell into complete silence. Arionne took a deep breath, knowing that what she was about to say could change everything, not just for her, but for everyone involved. Carlos began with a simple question, but the weight behind it was heavy. This time, Arionne didn't hold back. She started connecting pieces of the story that had never been explained before, revealing patterns, conversations, and moments that painted a very different picture of everything people thought they knew. With every word, the tension in the room grew stronger. It was clear that this wasn't just about one relationship. It was about control, manipulation, and the truth finally coming to light. Back at home, Martell watched again, but this time there was no anger, only silence. He sat still, eyes fixed on the screen as if realizing that things had gone too far to fix. Each statement from Arionne felt heavier than the last, and for the first time there was no immediate response from him. The interview ended without any dramatic shouting or chaos, but somehow that made it even more powerful. It left people thinking, questioning, and waiting for what would happen next. Within minutes, clips from the interview spread across every platform, and the conversation grew even louder than before. Now, everything had changed. Lines had been drawn, sides had been chosen, and the truth, whatever it fully was no longer something that could stay hidden. And as the world reacted in real time, one thing became clear. This story wasn't over yet. In fact, it felt like it was